Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we are looking at the Superlift Ore Hauler, sometimes referred to as the Superlifter. This was a deep space ore hauler. The vessel was manufactured by the Corellian Engineering Corporation. The ore hauler was slow, sluggish, unarmed, and had a tiny crew. It could carry about 90,000 metric tons, cost about 1.5 million credits, and was 155 meters long. Now, that is really all we really get out of Wikipedia. Um, it did come from Flashpoint, Brack Sector, and Pirates and Privateers. So this was really made for West End games. This is really what the Pirates would consider a prize vessel. So when we look at this as a prize vessel, this is something that the pirates love to go after, especially when it has a small crew. It's an unarmed vessel. Hopefully they can easily overtake it, kind of take a couple shots over the bow, whatever have you, and it's theirs. So whatever it's hauling, they could either um, take it and sell it off, or maybe they could hold it ransom and get some ransom money for it. I mean, with this much ore, 90,000 metric tons is a lot of ore for whatever it is. Hopefully, they can get some good payday for it. Um, so, this does come to us as an old Republic era vessel. Um, Again, it's coming from the Pirates and Privateers, and this is, like I said, listed as one of the prize vessels that a pirate or a privateer would be looking for, depending on which side you're on. Um, if you're during the old Republic era, yeah, a pirate. If the Clone Wars is a pirate, would be going after this. If you're talking about in our, what most people would probably be playing during the Rebellion era, you could be a privateer and you might go after this if it is marked as being aligned with the uh, uh, empire. Because my mind's just having having a little issue. If it's an imperial vessel and it's going to be used for, say, supplying ore for making either TIE fighters or star destroyers or any number of vessels or vehicles or whatever, the Rebel Alliance would be willing to pay privateers for bringing a ship like this in, so that way they could use it to make X-wings or um, prefabricated shelters or whatever have you. So as far as that goes, you know, during that time frame, you had pirates going for either side, privateers trying to get stuff for the rebellion. So it became very lawless, especially in the outer rim. Okay, so this is considered a medium ore hauler. It is capital scale. It is 155 meters long. Um, Only has a crew of 10, so it is a very small crew um, in that regard. Let's see. If you wanted to, you could run it with a skeleton crew of 5, and it is a +5 to whatever your roll is. So your common roll, which might be like a 5 or a 10, is now going to be like a 10 or a 15. Depending on how many dice you have to roll, it may be a fairly easy roll to make, or it could be very troublesome. The crew skills vary widely depending on whatever they're hauling, um, because with an ore hauler, we don't know exactly what kind of stuff they're going to haul. It could be like flat out iron, or it could be um, God only knows whatever they are getting for it. So um, I would even go as wide as saying that they may have it outfitted for hauling some sort of like tabana or some other liquid that might be needed for whatever process that is out there. Um, it does have room for 5 passengers, so maybe they can get a little extra money for going back and forth, or perhaps it's 4 or 5 guards. Cargo capacity, we've already stated that being 90,000 metric tons. Consumables is 3 months. So this is not a ship that we're hoping to be on for a very long period of time, at least at one crack. Um, if you're running it with more of a skeleton crew, you could double that. Uh, Keep this in mind that when we're talking about 3 months, you're talking about food and supplies for 15 people. Now, the other thing that we don't typically think of is you're also talking about fuel. So, something this big, I'm sure it's going to be burning a lot of Tabana, um, trying to get it from point A to point B or whatever else they're using for the ion engines. I'm going to say it's probably Tabana. And there's other ways that we could outfit a ship like this. It might take a little bit away from the cargo, or it might be add on pods later on or something, um, to be able to extend that out a little bit more. Okay, so brand new, we're looking at 1.5 million, or use it's about 500,000 uh, credits. Uh, if you're selling it to a crew as a used vessel, um, I know with pirates or privateers, I think they allude to it, and in Tramp Freighter they allude to it as well. Um, there are little hints for like a game master to put little quirks in a ship, like it runs warm all the time, so essentially everyone's going to be uncomfortable wearing a normal um, like jumpsuit or something like that, or maybe it runs cold. Maybe the people that had it before were more of a uh, colder climate or whatever, and it's always cold, so everybody's all bundled up. Maybe all the controls are labeled in a foreign language from a different species than the characters are used to, so they're kind of guessing at things, and it makes things a little bit more challenging. And I can only imagine people with like a masking tape and a Sharpie or something like that trying to write over whatever the signage was. So it's different things you can throw out there just for the fun and just making things a little challenging on the first couple runs or something. All right, so looking at our hyperdrive multiplier, our regular hyperdrive is at times 4, our backup is times 20. Being ore haulers, they're just trying to get as much material to wherever they have to go. Um, Surprisingly enough, it does not have a nav computer. It has, or it does, but it's only limited to 4 jumps. So, um, you got to really kind of play this out. And I know I've mentioned it in one of the other videos that we've done here. Do you do that as it has 4 jumps, just period, and this is what it can do, or you can only have 4 jumps saved into the computer? Now, as a game master, uh, typically I would say you're going to plan out your jump route or whatever, and that's pretty much all it's going to really run. Doesn't mean you couldn't have a astromech droid with a couple different jumps in there, plug in and give it maybe some extra coordinates to go here or there. Um, it's kind of up to the game master's discretion in that regard, or at least that's the way I always take it. Um, but I guess I will say that I play a little fast and loose on some of the rules. I'm trying to do it so the guys are having fun. If it seems like we got to jump from here to there to there to there, okay, now we're going to have to kind of figure things out. If they're just doing it as we're just trying to get from point A to point B and that's just it, I'm not too worried about it. If the group is trying to abuse the system, I would probably get a little bit more on their case about what they can and can't do. Like I said, I try to keep it flowing and having a little bit of fun. Be a little lighter on the rules at times, unless they're trying to break the rules. Now we're going to get a little bit more tight on how they're doing it. Um, Space for our speed is only a 2, so pretty much anything can outspeed this. So, um, it is just kind of meandering along here. Uh, in an atmosphere, it's able to go 650 kilometers per hour. You know, still pretty fast, but all in all, fairly slow. It's not meant to try and get anywhere fast. It's just trying to haul all that cargo. Okay, hull wise, it has a 2D plus 2, so it's just a little bit above our average. And like I said, that 2D is pretty much your standard. Shields is only at a 1D, just enough to protect it. And um, when we had kind of updated, when we were at the first edition, shields were just considered shields. When we went to second and then we got to the revised second, it was looked at in there that your shields are also a deflector shield or a deflector dish as well. Kind of taking a little bit of tech from like Star Trek. They were looking at it as, because there is space debris out there, tiny little particles and all that, so that just kind of pushes it away, deflects it. That's why it's called the deflector dish or deflector shield and all that. Just kind of deflects it and pushes it away. Um, with a shield of 1D, I would say out of that, just a +1 is going to be your deflector, and the rest of the shielding would be your actual shield. Um, Not that we really get into it all that much when we're running Star Wars, but if you're trying to really equate this down, and if we do some of the Star Trek ships and bring it into our expanded universe, how do you bring that in? Um, you would kind of work on it in those regards. So um, we'll see what we all bring into our expanded universe and how things can kind of work, kind of like bringing GI Joe into Star Wars. The system is very flexible, so you could bring almost anything in when you get kind of used to playing with some of this stuff. All right, so looking at our sensors, passively we can scan out to 2 kilometers. Actively we can scan out to about 3, and we can do a search out to 4 kilometers. Now, if you notice, they're not very powerful scanning computers. Um, so passively, it's a 0D. Our active scan is at a 1D, and our search is a 1D plus 2. Our focus, which only goes out to 100 meters, is a 2D. So it's not really, to put it in a Star Wars or Star Trek-ish kind of frame, it's not a science vessel that's actively trying to scan bodies of anything. It's just trying to get here to there, and that's it. There is nothing beyond this. This is completely unarmed. Not saying that someone couldn't turn it into a. Trying to think of the term that was used for a ship that typically would be an unarmed ship, but they retrofit it with a bunch of weapons, kind of like a sleeper ship or whatever. Really good for privateers and all that. You sneak one of those in there. Looks like it's unarmed. For a quick scan of it, it looks like it's completely unarmed. Once a pirate comes in, it'll just kick out all the guns and start fending off the pirates. Maybe even getting a couple bounties on them. The unfortunate part is I don't have any other picture for this other than the outline that we have here. I really wish I did, but I just don't, because it was just made for the like pirates and privateers and just mentioned in the other. This is really all we have. So unfortunately, I can't give you a better picture. Not saying that maybe someone with a better search or whatever didn't make something up that they feel was pretty close to this. I would say that as we look at this, this is going to be kind of a boxy outline, and these are going to be just kind of orbs that go all the way through the ship. Um, and this is going to be our bridge section up here. Now, does someone take something like this and outfit it to become a fighter carrier or something like this for their pirate fleet or something? A possibility. Um, you know, there are rules for doing stuff like this in the D6 universe, um, in the West End game Star Wars. There's ways to do this if that's something you're interested in, and it makes things interesting because you just never know. You can sit here and say, "This is our base ship. We'll have to add a lot more crew to manage the fighters, as well as the pilots, um, everything else. Start taking cargo capacity away for the fighters, for extra consumables and everything else." But yeah, it could be done. Now, one of the things I don't remember ever really seeing in any of the rules, and I know I looked a number of times, when you're if you want to throw a hanger in here, I don't think they actually have a stat of how much tonnage you're going to take away. Now, I'm going to throw this out here because trying to say it properly, there is never a standard hanger. When we look at the hangars in Star Wars, they're these big open areas. Um, I would say if you want to just keep it kind of reasonable for a fighter craft, you might want to say every hangar spot is probably going to be 150 metric tons. Now, it might be a little on the high side, but on the other hand of this, it's also building up the superstructure underneath it to make sure you don't fall through. You're also talking about having room there for refueling and also for keeping extra parts. If it's a bomber or something like that, you may have spare bombs designated to be in that area. If we're talking about like a transport like a YT series, most notably the 1300, like the Falcon, um, you might want to say it, either 300 or maybe 500 metric tons, uh, mainly because you're talking about a bigger ship here. Um, and if it can carry 100 metric tons and take off, I don't know exactly how heavy these would be. I'm just throwing this out here. Um, as someone that's, the guys have throughout the time that we've played had said, hey, we have a ship that has enough cargo. Can we upgrade it? Yeah, let's do this, and we'll kind of work on it through the fly. And I know that I've gone through the books a number of times, and I don't think we ever found anything. They have a lot of other things in there, fuel scoops, um, adding extra escape pods, all that other normal stuff. But I don't think for actually throwing an extra hanger in there, they actually had anything. But with that being said, it's one of those ships we don't typically get to see. It's great to be able to bring this to light. Um, yeah, it's a pirate prize vessel, being an ore hauler, an unarmed ship. Something that, yeah, people would probably be working on a normal day-to-day basis, just getting paid for trying to haul all the freight back and forth. But something we don't typically get to see. Hope you enjoyed this series. It's wonderful trying to bring this stuff to light, make it so everybody can see it, because I don't think this is something that most people typically get to see. So, hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you in the next video.